Welcome to the State of the Buccaneers podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Pfefferkorn, and this is the biggest and only fan-run podcast of the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. We'll get right back to you after the tune. Welcome back to tonight's episode of State of the Buccaneers. I have a guest with me tonight. I'm proud to welcome the host with the most from Left Turn Colt. He's part of the reason I'm doing this right now, doing this podcast while I started it. Mr. Cody Powers himself. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. I know you've wanted to come on since you're a Buccaneer graduate, Buccaneer student. I just wanted to quickly sort of give you the floor, sort of explain your connection to ETSU sports and what has drawn you in to ETSU athletics.
Oh, dude, yeah, for sure. So I started at Northeast State, and then I feel like everybody who plans on living in this area for the rest of your life, you're like, well, I'm just going to go to ETSU after that, right? So I went to ETSU. I majored in media and communication. My minor was ad and PR. But during that time of studying, I started working with the East Tennessean, which is the student paper on campus. And I kind of like, it was dumb luck, really, but an athletic reporter position just kind of totally fell into my lap. And at first I was like, do I want to write like for a newspaper? Am I a sports journalist? Never really had any interest in that. But I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. Fell in love with it, dude. It was so much fun. One of the first like big things I got to do was I got to go to the press conference for when ETSU announced that they were doing esports. And so I got to be a part of that first press conference of that announcement. I got to interview the esports coach. And then that fall would lead into what is like the greatest ETSU football season of all time. We had the FCS title run. But yeah, that season covering that, I kept up with like absolutely every inch of that season for the paper. So I'd say that's what really drew me into like embracing like my true inner Buck, because I grew up a Hokie fan, right? I mean, you grow up a kid, you're always a fan of one of the bigger schools around, and here it's like you're either a Virginia Tech fan or a Vol, right? Didn't want to be a Vol, so I was a Hokie, but I do rep ETSU with a lot of pride. I love ETSU athletics.
See, I have a similar upbringing to you, just going to Northeast State and then transferring to ETSU. But I've been a Buccaneer fan since I was a little kid, you know. They were the team around here. That's kind of why I started going to their games. And like you, I have another team, Purdue. So I'm different. I'm kind of different from a lot of people around here since my family's not from this area. But Buccaneers, I've bled blue and gold since I was like 8 years old, going to the games at the Mini Dome. Yeah,
I respect
and
that.
That's where my loyalties have been. That's kind of why I wanted to go to ETSU, just because they had a good, exciting athletics games. It's better than going to like one of these private schools, like Milligan or Tusculum, where sports aren't really the main priority there. Just sort of, you like you said, you have kind of gotten plugged in with the media side of things. You really understand the sports media. I've always dreamed about doing that type of stuff. Like you kind of just fell into that. I've enjoyed talking about sports, I'll tell people that are twice my age stats and that sort of stuff. Talk about stuff that they don't even understand. But I'm glad to have you on the podcast.
Dude, I'm excited to be here. Yeah, and I don't exaggerate at all when I say that like writing for the paper genuinely was something that like I did not think that I really didn't think I wanted to do it. And, like, when the offer was first thrown at me, I was like, man, I don't know. Like, I love to watch sports. I
Mm-hmm.
love to keep up, like you said, stats and all. I love that. It's just I didn't know if I wanted to like cover it
Mm-hmm.
with that perspective. Super glad I did though, because it turned out to be like one of the coolest things. It helped me like change my perspective. Like when I watch a
Mm-hmm.
sport now, I kind of watch it in a different way than I used to.
Yeah, you view it from a more, less of a biased perspective. You view it from
Yeah,
all sides.
yeah,
Because I
for
know
sure.
I've always dreamed about like doing podcasting, but I never really, you know, I didn't really have experience doing much speaking. I did YouTube when I was younger, but hadn't done that since I was in like young days of high school. Making you,
Is your
yeah, it's
channel
still
still
up.
up?
Yeah,
Is it?
I
I feel like everybody has like that one channel from when they were like
yeah, yeah,
13 or
yeah.
14.
I think my last video was like the senior day, Forbes first year. Like I recorded the game or like parts of the game, like
Oh,
the
let's go.
like starting lineups and everything when Geelong Gwyn was there. Uh,
That's sick.
Gwyn, Cromer, all them. Yeah, but after that, I just kind of fell away from it. Doing just living life, that sort of thing. But when you asked me, like, reached out to me with about starting this podcast, I was kind of hesitant. I didn't know how it would go, and it's kind of evolved, as it's gone on. And once I've gotten it started up, um, it's it's been a success, I'd say. Just the amount of people that have reached out to me and say they watch the podcast.
Yeah, dude, it's a cool
Because
feeling, isn't it? Um,
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say like it's been uniting Buck fans together on Twitter. And
Right, and that's not. It doesn't even exist, right? Right, like Buck Twitter, it's there, but like
mm-hmm,
there's no, there's nobody really like
mm-hmm,
covering it
yeah,
like deeply. You know, I mean, there's a few like account. There's a lot of meme
yeah. There's
accounts,
like memes and
and like shit post. Sorry, crap
yeah.
posters. I don't know if you
Oh,
swear
I
on here.
mean, you can swear it's I've not marked not for children on YouTube, so
Okay, okay,
I'm
cool.
sure there's
I'll
some
keep that in
younger
mind.
listeners, but uh, like people's kids and stuff, but they probably don't care either because they probably cuss at
Yeah, sorry, sorry,
cuss
sorry,
at the ball
kids.
games. I know the people
Yeah,
I'm in the
yeah,
group chats with on Twitter, they probably were like, but
yeah.
yeah,
Just move
yeah,
along.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, no, it's cool. I do hope that Buck Twitter can like grow and be. I love nothing more than a toxic fan base.
oh,
And I know that sounds terrible, but dude, toxic fan bases are the best fan bases, hands
okay.
down.
There's so much depth to ETSU Twitter lore. Like it's actually pretty crazy the amount of for the size of schools we are. Like we go to toe to. Sometimes we get in Twitter wars with like Vol Twitter on there,
That's impressive. I
like
respect that.
and like people will come out of nowhere. There's a
Yeah,
few infamous people on both sides.
I love when it's
Yeah.
like a smaller school that's like really clapping back too. That's I think that FCS teams make the perfect
Mm-hmm.
villains on Twitter. Just because nobody wants to deal with them,
Yeah.
right? Like everybody like casts them off. But come like March Madness, you know those schools that aren't in a major Power Five conference, they're knocking
Yeah.
people
I'll
off.
tell you who have like some of the most loyal fan bases. You wouldn't think, but it probably comes as no shock. But like the Dakota schools, they travel, man.
Oh
When
yeah, dude. Yeah, they're
when we
proud.
play North Dakota State this fall, there'll be a large contingent of them
Oh, yeah.
tailgating.
I can't do I can't advise it enough to Buck fans. Go like get tickets and go because there's a chance that the student side is going to be
Yeah,
green.
that away section. Usually, there's like about 15 fans from other SoCon schools, other than maybe I don't know. I don't know if even Chattanooga brings that many fans, but there will be a lot of them. I've already seen North Dakota State on Twitter, like their fans saying, we'll kind of get in that into a minute, but yeah, just a football team, but yeah, that ETSU's that type of fan base. I've bringing it back around. People have come up to me at the games and said, "Hey, cool podcast, man! Like, it's an
That's
experience."
sick.
I'm kind of in public. I'm kind of quiet, so like
Yeah.
when someone comes up and says that to me, I'm like, "Dang, that feels great, man!" I appreciate it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah, for sure. Pretty soon you're gonna be stopped
yeah,
for
probably.
pictures.
That'll probably happen soon enough. As long as people don't sit around me at the games, I get pretty rowdy at ball games.
Uh-oh. You might have to start putting on
Yeah,
your
I have to.
PR
I might
face.
have to. I almost got into it with some Western fans. Fair,
Oh, you getting
yeah.
that rowdy?
Well, they were being annoying, so I didn't say anything bad. I just said I was sitting right behind their bench and I was chanting "Western sucks." They were
Okay,
they were
you're that
chanting. I
guy.
said "Western sucks," but uh, yeah, it's great to have this podcast. So I'm.
Yeah, ETSU needs to be
Mhm.
talked about.
They really do because they're one of the like of the athletic departments of smaller school like FCS schools. They have one of the most loyal fan bases. I can honestly say that. And they've
Beautiful
yeah
stadium.
beautiful stadiums, Freedom Hall and William Bean Greene Jr. Great environments. Um,
Starting next season though, it's gonna be
oh,
shoot.
is
I can't think of
their
what it
bank?
is.
Is
Hold
it
on.
his bank?
Sorry for the clicking.
Oh, it's all good.
Bank of
Yeah,
Tennessee Field.
that's the bank he's the founder of, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the full name. I don't know how I feel about this, but it's the Bank of Tennessee Field at William B. Greene Jr.
That's kind
Stadium.
of like
It's a bit of a mouthful, but
at Purdue Stadium. It's Bob Rohrman Field, like the insurance guy field at Ross-Ade Stadium or
yeah,
something.
I mean, I get it. They're trying to keep honoring
Mm-hmm.
him while also like getting a little bit of that
Yeah, yeah.
sponsor money. I respect it.
But another another thing I wanted to say. What I just wanted to bring this up before we get into the football discussion. What are some of your favorite moments, Cody, of uh, ETSU athletics that you've experienced over the years?
Um, Two that stand out specifically. Covering Quay's season,
Mm-hmm.
his record season. That was a lot of fun. I kind of like counted down the
Mm-hmm.
yards like with each article of like how close he was to breaking the record. But number one overall, one of the greatest sports moments, I think it'll probably be the individual greatest sports moment that I've ever experienced, was the Kennesaw State game. I was there in the stands. Um, Dude, that was
Yeah.
incredible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like deep down, I was like, we have a shot. And it was absurd to think that we had a shot. Uh, but yeah, dude, that 2 point conversion, I was like, dude, this is some real like big dick energy. We could kick the field goal, send it to overtime, or
Yeah.
we'll either lose or win.
That Sanders balls that night or that day,
Dude,
he
he had
just
to
like
leave with the
he looked
wheelbarrow.
like
Yeah,
Randy Marsh from South Park.
yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
couldn't believe they were
100%.
going for it. I was just like, dang. I don't think I would have
Yeah,
done
I
that.
loved
Yeah.
it in the moment. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's go. I think they knew momentum was definitely on their
Yeah.
side at
You
that
can't
moment.
give option teams overtime, honestly, because they just will
No.
run till it's fourth down and score on fourth down.
Yep.
I think that's what his whole idea was. After getting the onside kick and scoring, you got to take that, man.
You
Yeah,
might as
yeah.
well go for it. Like if luck has been on your side, because I don't care what anybody says. There's a lot of execution to do an onside kick, but dude, they are like 70%
Yeah,
luck.
the, unless you're like just like drill the. I think they drill the returner on that one. The,
I don't remember what the. I want to think that the onside kick was
yeah,
missing.
I know. What's crazy is the previous game against Mercer that clinched the SoCon title. They did an onside kick too to come back and
Yeah,
win, and they
yeah,
they did it 2
insane.
weeks in a row. Two of the most
Yeah,
clutch games
yeah. I
ever.
mean, one onside kick a year is
Yeah,
like against all odds, but two back-to-back weeks, it's insane.
I.
But yeah, that was probably the
Mhm.
coolest moment for me as an ETSU fan, and honestly, just as a sports fan. As soon as like the clock hit 0, we all
Yeah.
rushed to the field. It was just one of those feel-good moments. Our school won a home FCS playoff game. That
Yeah,
was
I
incredible.
know. I rushed the field. I got on the field. Well, I was like 2 or 3 weeks off of a. I had surgery, so I calmly walked. Like I calmly jumped down. Like I didn't jump off immediately
Oh yeah, I didn't want to.
when
Yeah,
people were rushing off. But uh, I that was a crazy game. Like I was in the stands and I took my shirt off. Like
dude, it was exciting.
everybody
It
was
was
like
fun.
going nuts. Like
I still have my
yeah,
rally towel hanging up from
I
that
took
one.
pictures with like random people I didn't even know on the field. Like
Yeah, that I got a picture with Bucky
yeah,
on the field.
I, I was down there and like Tyler Riddell. I think his parents were down there too. Like all the parents were on the field at the same time.
That one felt good, man, especially because of how nasty
Oh,
their bench was to our student
they,
section. I tell people all the time, like it was terrible, and people are like, "Well, yeah, that's just sports." No, dude,
that
they
was the
were
worst.
rough.
Like some teams, they'll say stuff, they'll do gestures and stuff.
Yeah,
They were like the player was grabbing his crotch.
yeah,
That I think that's what doomed them. And
yeah.
another thing, I've said this before. One of their assistant coaches was talking trash, like to the student section
Yep,
while the
yeah.
game was going on.
Like at one point, like the moment we took the score or the lead, and then the whole crowd just started chanting "scoreboard" to
Yeah,
the bench. Oh, dude.
they were not. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, and as soon as the game was over, those players were
They
gone, bro. They were off the
they
field.
didn't want to. They didn't want the smoke. Nor
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, all the trash they talked. There were probably a few guys in the student section that had drank enough to where like they would probably have thrown
yeah, like
hands.
the type of dude that were at Bristol the one time. The type of dude that would jump and try to fight Kyle Busch at the car.
Yeah,
That's like the
yeah,
type of.
exactly. Yeah,
Oh man, no, that's up there for me. Uh, oh yeah, and you mentioned Quay Holmes. I don't know if you've seen this before, but I got that.
that is
I'm
sick.
glad I had that made. I need to have more made by that dude. He's good. He's good. He's
Yeah, no,
good.
that was
He's
smooth.
good.
Is he local?
He's actually out of Illinois. One of my other
Okay,
buddies had stuff made for him, and like, he actually
gotcha.
had himself made because he played D2 football. He
That
had him
that's
make
pretty sick.
himself in his high school and college jersey. But
That is cool. I want one made of just
yeah,
me. Like no football though.
he probably would do it. I think he does not sports and non-sports like stuff. I think so. He does anything custom painting.
That's cool.
But um, I'd like to. We're gonna segue into sort of talking about Buck football, the future of Buck football. I know you. I think everybody is happy to have the George Quarles era behind us. Um,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
was rough, just a rough 2 years after the 2021 season. But
Yeah. I think that Coach Quarles. I don't know that he was fully ready to like lead a collegiate team.
yeah, I get that impression.
I mean, he's the greatest. He is the greatest high school football coach in Tennessee history,
Hmm.
right? incredible resume at a high school level, but TSSAA is still a far cry from I mean even
Hmm.
SoCon play. Um, Looking back, I'm not surprised at all with how it like
Yeah.
transpired. His entire, um, I felt like the demeanor for the team was different. Um, I did get to go to one of the first practices of the season. His first year. That was
Hmm.
what 2 years ago now. I guess everything just
Yeah.
blends
Yeah.
together. Um, and it felt like a different team automatically. I immediately was like, yeah, Randy's not the coach anymore. So that's unfortunate, but I had that feeling early on. I was like, I hope this is wrong because it's just the way the practice was going.
Hmm.
It was just
Hmm.
weird to me. I was like, I don't know that the culture is here. The players were excited. The guys I talked to, they were looking forward to the season. But yeah, dude, it did not pan out how we anticipated. Coming off of that playoff run and that first season with him, I expected a few growing pains. I definitely didn't expect to go undefeated.
Hmm.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a
Hmm.
far
We got
cry, but I did not expect for the season that we had.
Yeah, we got kind of lucky in 2021, so I didn't. Yeah, I think were expecting a step back, especially with the talent we lost. And
Yeah,
what you mentioned, just about the energy being different, I figured there was something up. That there was when players tweeted, we're gonna miss you, Coach Sanders," and didn't mention anything about Quarles on Twitter. I
yeah,
saw the just that sort of disconnect.
yeah,
They weren't like talking about the new coach because like usually when a coach comes in, players start getting hyped up and say, "Hey, welcome to the program." Either one of two
yep,
things: they either enter now with the transfer portal, they enter the transfer portal, or say, "I'm fired up for the new coach," that sort of deal. It wasn't really It sort of like was a slow climb down. Um, with how some people entered the portal and then some. That 2021 team, I had optimism. Um, just I thought he made the right moves, bringing back Billy Taylor, bringing in a D2 OC with the explosive offense that yeah.
I'll still die on the hill. Um, I love the Trey Lamb
Mhm.
hire, but I still think that we should have Coach Tate.
Yeah. I mean,
I will
I
die
mean
on the hill.
he's the true Buccaneer. He should probably honestly should have got hired after uh, Sanders retired. And uh,
Yep.
the first time. Um,
Yeah, I think that was the look over that hurt the most. I'm excited for
Me
Trey
too.
though.
Just everything I've heard, uh, he brings a professionalism to the program, like a football mind, sound football mind.
And also
Yeah,
like a young,
yeah.
cool like energy about
Relates to
him
the
too that I
players
like.
because I know
Yeah.
like his players are fired up. You know, he look at how many of his guys followed him from Gardner Webb to ETSU. Like
Right.
that's that's
Yeah. That
that's a
says a
number
lot.
one sign that he's one, he's focused on his players, and two, he's focused, has a system in place. He's not.
Yeah, for sure. Because if he
Mhm.
was a bad coach and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
nobody wanted to play for him, they damn sure wouldn't have followed him to
yeah.
another
Because
school.
sometimes coaches, their records can be deceiving. You know,
Right.
and it's all their coordinators. Their coordinators held them up. Look at Tom Allen at Indiana. He had Kalen DeBoer and Kane Womack, and now he's at
Yeah.
you know he he's nowhere. He got fired from Indiana. Um, but like you can have a great team, but you're not really a great coach. You're just skidding by on your
Yeah.
talent or your coordinators, or just get lucky. That's what happened with Daryl Hazel at Purdue, um, or
And
Kent State.
I think it's easier for FCS teams to be
Yeah,
exposed by
yeah.
poor coaching because your bigger schools, yeah. Alabama's defensive coordinator could probably have a job as head coach
Yeah,
anywhere he
yeah,
wants, right?
pretty much. At
Um,
any of the lower levels.
Go ahead. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, if you have a bad system, a bad administration, I think it's going to show a lot quicker at an FCS program. And we're talking about an FCS program that probably, in reality, should have carried over almost the same amount of success just by nature. I mean, we did lose a lot of guys after Sanders retired. I didn't think it was going to be enough though to put us 3-8.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. Like, we brought back Jacob Sailors, most of our receiving core.
And he was not
Sailors,
all.
Will Huzzy, Tyler Riddell, a majority of our offensive line, a majority of our defense. Plenty of.
Yeah, we did not lose a lot of guys until the end of that first season. And I think if a big percentage of your players are hopping in the transfer portal, I know a lot of people are indifferent about the transfer portal. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think that it's typically pretty telling of the program, right? I mean, people are gonna like chase big NIL money. That's nothing that anybody is really chasing in FCS all that much. But I think with the amount of players that we've lost over the last 2 seasons to the transfer portal, I think that should speak absolute volumes to like how that team was operating in the locker room.
Yeah. One thing, the offensive line. One thing I forgot to mention, like Tremont Shorts, who went to LSU and barely played. He hopped in the portal and went there when he could have started at ETSU. I think that was a direct correlation with offensive line coach or going to Furman.
Yep.
Corals brought the only member of Furman staff he brought over was the offensive line. I forget his name was Drew Drake, I think it was. But what was telling Furman's offensive line went up, and they became SoCon champs, and ETSU's offensive line went down. Yeah,
isn't that crazy? Causation, correlation, I don't know. All I'm saying is Furman did perform a whole lot better after Corals left. So the proof is in the pudding. Hopefully though, we'll perform now that he's gone.
Yeah, I have a theory. I don't know if you saw Drew Cronick from Mercer just left. Mercer's head coach left to be the defensive coordinator at Navy.
Okay.
So
there's a SoCon opening for him.
But what was it? Our offensive line coach that Corals replaced Drew Drake with, he's now the offensive line coach at Navy. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's crazy. I think Trey Lamb is being set up for success in the Southern Conference. His first year. Yeah.
I think so. I hope that the team can start strong. I think that there's going to be a new energy going forward. I mean, last season it was like the team was dead all year, right? There was no excitement. And I don't blame the players. Like, it is what it is. Yeah, if you have a coach that you're not seeing eye to eye with, I mean, can't really expect you to do a whole lot. Don't expect a whole lot. We had a lot of embarrassing losses. I just pulled up the schedule just to remind myself. Losing to Chattanooga 3-34.
Yeah, that was. I think that might have been the worst one, because Chattanooga didn't. They were a good team, but they didn't perform down the stretch like they should have.
Right. Yeah, but they sure got
I know.
us.
Oh, which one? The worst loss of the year. Probably losing VMI, honestly.
VMI hurt. The
Yeah,
Western Carolina loss was a big
yeah.
one too.
And then getting blown out 63-3 by Austin P. That one
Yeah,
was pretty
yeah.
rough.
Hey, that was coming off of a big win though against
Yeah,
Carson Newman.
Carson Newman.
That's one of those big moral wins there.
I was afraid Carson Newman was going to beat us, to be completely honest. I was like, I
I mean, last season it was
I
totally
told
possible. I had no confidence going into any of the
me
games
either.
last season.
I was just hoping we would beat like Wofford and Citadel, which we did because they were historically bad. They were historically bad last year. Thankfully, we weren't as bad as that. But
Yeah, I mean, Citadel almost
they,
like they
yeah,
did put
yeah,
up a fight.
they had oh, they might be better this year. They had a first year coach last year. I think they,
Yeah,
yeah,
it takes
yeah.
time.
I know.
Yeah, I think the goal I'm setting for us this year, if we can get 6 wins,
I
I'll
hope
be
we get
happy.
6 or 7 wins. I hope we beat our at least one of our SoCon rivals.
Yeah, I'll take
Western,
that. Yeah, honestly, I'd be happy with
Western or
4 wins.
Chattanooga, get one of them. Um, any of those, maybe upset some people.
7
Yeah,
wins
yeah.
would be awesome because he would immediately pass George for
I
wins.
know it's going to be tough to get. Uh, it's going to be tough to get 8 wins just with our non-conference because it's going to be.
Yeah,
We have a brutal non-conference. Let's be honest. When we open at App State, and
that's
then we
rough.
go. I think is it at Elon? Are we at Elon? Yeah,
Yep,
at Elon. That's a
yep.
FCS, talented FCS team. Colonial.
Well, and then don't forget
Yeah, North Dakota
North
State,
Dakota.
of course, our home opener. Um,
I'm
that
excited
that
for that
game,
one though.
honestly, if the team is like on fire, I honestly think we could upset them because they're going to have a first year coach too. Because
Early in the
North Dakota,
season.
and it's on the road, hostile environment. North Dakota State's not really the North Dakota State of like years past.
Yeah,
When we played them in the playoffs, they were a defensive powerhouse. Now it's South
yeah.
Dakota State that's the unstoppable monster.
It's crazy how North Dakota and South Dakota are just absolute
I
monsters in
think it's because of
FCS.
their linemen. I think they just know go out to the oil fields in Minnesota and North Dakota, and they get all these.
Do they primarily recruit in state?
I think they recruit a lot of their team from like Minnesota and Dakotas
Gotcha.
out west. I know they have a few. Like they bring in
Yeah, dude, all those guys are ranchers. Like it's in their DNA. They're
their
just
team
big
is like
people.
ranchers and like inner city kids they bring from like Florida randomly. Like
Gotcha.
they had a
That's how
they
you
had
win
like Darren
football, bro.
Sproles' younger brother on their team at one
Really?
point, and they had
Okay.
because I know they've just had great success with their QBs, too. They've had a good
Yeah,
lineage from Brock Jensen to Carson Wentz to Easton Stick,
my
Trey
boy.
Lance, and then Cam Miller now. I don't know who their starter will be this year. I think he's Cam Miller graduated.
That'll be a
Yeah,
fun game
yeah.
though, for sure. I kinda want to wear my Carson Wentz jersey to it, but I feel like that'd be
That'd be
like
sacrilegious.
I know.
uh,
um, but looking at the schedule, um, I think 5 wins is very possible. I could see us heating up later
yeah,
half of the season. I don't think we're going to start well. I mean, that is just a very brutal
yeah,
start. I could see us starting. We could. The best we'll do is 2-2 to
hmm
start. I think. App State. That. I mean, I don't want to
yeah,
be pessimistic, and I know crazier things have happened, but that's
yeah.
probably a loss.
I saw App State play this past year in person. Their QB, I think he's an NFL guy. Um, so I think that's going to be yeah.
I mean, they've got to be ranked like. What did App State finish last year?
they finished. They started off the year slow, but they heated up like and won like 7 in a row or 8 in a row or something like that.
Yeah, so they finished
Yeah,
9-5.
I think they won like 8 or 7 in a row. Five,
Five.
five, and
They won
five in a
5 in a
row.
row. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good
Yeah,
football team. They always have been. So I think that'll be a test. If we win that, dude, I mean,
that'd be
that
an
would be
upset.
insane.
Yeah, definitely an upset.
Huge upset.
That might.
Um,
I know going into this year, App State fans weren't really happy with their coach, but they turned it around. But he'd be back on the hot seat if he lost to ETSU.
yeah. Yeah. I think UVA
Yeah,
Waz is probably a win for
I'm
us,
glad
I
they
think.
have that in between App State and North Dakota State
Yeah.
because I think we're gonna
Just a little
morale
booster.
booster. Get the QBs in rhythm, QB and receivers, offensive line in rhythm.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who's going to be our starter, but our entire QB room is a new QB room, new offense.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. I'd say the first few weeks we'll probably see kind of a
yeah.
carousel.
Because we have I gotta look up his name. The St. Francis QB. Let's see, transfer. Cole Doyle, that's his name. I remember his name. Him and then the Jalen King that transferred from Gardner Webb. Both are talented QBs. I think Cole Doyle gets the initial start, but I think Jalen King, he's going to have the higher ceiling because he was, I think he was the all freshman in the Big South last year. I think. I could be wrong.
Is he coming?
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Gardner?
He was their starter for most of the year. Dual threat guy. They had a different starter to start the year, but he got hurt. And he wasn't as good. But Jalen King was a freshman last year, so he has. I don't know if I don't think he has a COVID year, but he probably has 3 more years to play. I'd say. But that'll be interesting to see. But I'm excited for spring ball to see all those position battles because it's going to be basically a new team. Although there's a lot of defensive players coming back, and I think a lot. Oh yeah, and whole new receiving core too. That's another thing. Just offensively, it's gonna. I think it'll take a minute till we're clicking. Hey Cody, you're muted.
Yeah, I had myself muted.
Okay.
Sorry. I think that this is just going to be a totally new look Bucks. I mean, no matter how you want to look at it, it's a whole new squad. We have a new administration and new players coming in. I think it's exciting.
I do too. They run the air raid. Trey Lamb runs the air raid, so it'll be interesting to see sort of a switch up of styles. ETSU's been more of like a traditional like pro style ground and pound type game. When Torbush and Sanders era, I know we aired it out occasionally, but we were more run first. So I think we're definitely going to be more pass first in this new offense.
I think that'll be exciting. I mean, like you said, that's not something that ETSU has been known for in the last since the program came back.
Even before then, they were more of a run team. They didn't have.
Yeah, all the big records are held by the running backs for.
They had some good passers in the '90s when they went to the playoffs, but their QB stats aren't anything to write home about. They don't really have some 60 touchdown passer or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we see that with King.
I hope so. I really hope so. I don't know if you know who Lindsey Scott Jr. is, the incarnate word QB. It'd be crazy to have a player like that. Oh. He had 60 touchdowns last year.
That would
Yeah,
be insane to see that. And then we start getting like, a little bit of
yeah,
national
yeah.
coverage for what he's doing. He turns into like, the kind of the Carson Wentz prospect
Hmm.
looking guy.
Yeah,
That would be
I really
sick.
hope that happens. Um, but I think that's about all I can say about football right now. Um, just I'm excited for it. I don't know when spring football starts. I think it's coming up here to begin. It may be the beginning of March. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think historically that's
Yeah,
usually
because I
when it
know they
is.
start. Usually they start practices out in the dome, and then they move once it gets
Hmm.
warmer.
Yep.
I'm sure the team's getting trained right now, doing weight, uh, winter lifting still.
Oh, yeah, if they're anything like me, they probably have a few
Yeah,
pounds to
yeah.
shred after the
Especially
holidays.
the linemen. I know they put down some deviled eggs.
Oh, dude, they gotta eat. They gotta eat to
Yeah,
protect
yeah.
the QB.
Um, but quickly before we transition into basketball, I just had a trivia question. I started typically do this on my podcast, whether I have a guest or not.
Okay.
I just wanted to transition into basketball. Who is ETSU's all-time leader in blocks? Is it A. Greg Dennis, B. Isaiah Brown, C. Zachy Waywood, or Gerald Fields?
So I know this
Okay,
one. It's
yeah,
Isaiah Brown. It
uh,
is, yeah. So, when I first started
mhm,
writing for the paper, I immediately started like looking up all like the
mhm.
historical stats. And yeah, so I do
I
remember that
know.
one. I love to get
Mhm.
like stats engraved into my brain. That is one of my favorite things. Like, that's my useless
See,
party
same
trick.
here. I know useless stuff, and my friends are like, "Why? How do you know that? But you don't know how to do something basic?"
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
like I just remember them. Ever since I was a little kid, I just remember useless sports information.
Yeah, dude, mine goes beyond just
Yeah.
sports
Oh,
too. Like, I remember the dumbest, like, I mean, I guess they're not dumb. Your average person does not
yeah.
care about them, right? And I'm full of so many just useless facts. And like, sometimes it's a
Yeah.
detriment because, like, when I'm in an awkward moment, that's where I
Yeah.
go to.
Like
Like, I just start listing off facts. And I know these people are like, oh,
I'm
God.
that way with like history and like pop culture and like it's like
Yeah.
okay when you try to bring it up to someone, they're like okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the pop culture one.
Yeah. You just
Because people are like, "Why do you know that?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, I
yeah.
just
Yeah.
do. I took a few wrong turns
I've been
down the
on
internet."
Wikipedia binges too much.
Oh yeah. Have you ever played like the game where you like think of a specific like person or event, and then you go to a random page and you see how many
Oh,
clicks it takes to
Six
get you
Degrees of
there?
Kevin Bacon. That's what the
Yeah.
game is
Yeah.
called. I've done that before a few times. I,
Yeah. That's one of those games that I used to play
yeah.
like all the
See,
time.
like I'll just will click on. I'll start reading stuff on Wikipedia. I'll just remember the most random stuff on there, like some random movie
Yeah.
from 1983 that wasn't even a hit.
And what's terrifying is like it's just random people
Uh,
like me or you filling all
yeah,
that stuff
yeah,
out.
because it could be right or it could be wrong. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. You just
Yeah,
gotta believe. Believe in the
I know.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, um, I just mentioned the reason I brought that trivia question in. One, Isaiah Brown was one of the players when I first started watching ETSU basketball, and two, I kind of a segue into basketball. This year, there's a player on this team that might be all time in the season blocks record. I don't know if you know Jaden Parker.
Yep.
He's
How far
he
out is he?
has currently has 39 blocks on the season.
How many does he
Uh,
need?
I have the crap. I had the records pulled up. Let's pull. Okay, the all-time record for blocks in a season is 71. He was going to get up there in the all-time season records. So, and he's only a junior, so he's got another year. So he might get very
Hopefully he
yeah.
hangs
I think he's
around.
gonna get very close to Isaiah Brown's block record. That's my prediction, at least. But
Did he play
no,
last
he
season?
transferred in from North Florida
Okay.
because
Okay. Cool.
he was the first. He was the first signee after uh, Brooks Savage got hired on. But just talking about, I'm kind of segueing this into the talking about the basketball team this year. Uh, we are much improved, but we're kind of on a slump right now. Just talking about the Wofford game last night, that was kind of a disappointing end to a good performance. The team shot uh, we shot 45% from three, 46% for the game. Jaden Seymour continued to roll on. Jaden Parker had a good performance on the defensive end, as usual. That was my kind of my segue. He didn't play as great on the offensive, but we should have won that game, honestly.
Yeah, heartbreaker. You got to play
Mm-hmm.
hard ball both halves. Um, I feel like that's kind of
Yeah.
been the story of this team. I think they kind of like tire themselves
Mm-hmm.
out a little bit. I mean, I have nothing at all negative to say about Coach Savage. I think that the program's headed
Mm-hmm.
in the right direction. I would much rather be like 9-9 than to be like, I don't know, what, 3 and
Yeah,
15, 3 and
that's
16. So I will gladly take, um, first, like, this is his
mm-hmm.
first shot at like doing it himself. He did coach the one game while Coach Forbes was out. Um, But other than that, like, this is his
Mm-hmm.
first go at it. Team's 9-9. The program was stagnant,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was no excitement for that program either. It kind of hit the same level as the football team did, where it was just like, man, like, we're back to these painful years of like ETSU sports. Um, but I think Coach Savage is the guy. I think they'll turn it
Yeah,
around. Man, I mean, I don't think that they're gonna, be contenders for
yeah.
anything
I
this
think
season by any means. But I think they're on the right track. It's a little bit of, but I mean, back to your point, it is a little bit of a slump, but I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay for them to slump.
I think this is how they grow as a team. They had to start the season. They had a slump um, on the going on the road a bunch, and then uh, December they tore it up, and now that they're in SoCon play, they're experiencing you know tough conference foes for the first time. A lot of these, it's crazy to think a lot of these players haven't played for very long together. And
Right.
that's just a matter of how basketball is, how college sports is nowadays. Um, but I think, like you said, uh, the body language for this team is 100 times better than it was last year. Um, and this team has winners on it. I will say that right now. Coach Savage is a winner. The whole team is winners. Um, and the issue comes down to just like the depth. They wear themselves out. Um, at the end of the games, sometimes they get the deer in the headlights look and just lose it there at the end. But we've sort of fixed the issue of like the team actually cares this year. Like they care. Um,
And that goes
yeah,
such a long way when it comes to winning. I mean, you could have the most talented group out there, and if nobody cares or if nobody's excited, I mean, you're not gonna win consistently. I think we saw that over the last two seasons. If I'm not mistaken, I think Desmond Oliver, I think he only had, maybe it was 26 or 27 wins in his career at ETSU. So I think that Coach Savage is going to pass that
yeah.
in three
He's
seasons.
already on pace to pass what he's
Yeah,
going to pass what he did Desmond Oliver did last year in next few games. Um,
yeah, for sure.
because I know both those teams of Oliver's teams, they started off. They looked relatively decent. The talent was there. I forgot to mention this was the football team. It's the same issue that the football team had. There's talent, but the coaching just isn't there. There's no IQ to the team. At the end of
Yeah.
games, it's just hero ball. There's no actual offense. That's what's different with Savage. I know we don't really have a lot of shooters on this team, but there's still offensive movement. A lot better. IQ. That in between the passing, that sort of stuff, compared to Oliver's two
Yeah,
teams.
I mean, they're averaging 71 points a game. Those are good numbers. Let's see. Definitely, probably could improve on the 3-point game a little bit. We're at 29%. That's rough. I don't mind them shooting 40%. Yeah. That's okay. I'll take that. Rebounding, getting out rebounded, average. I'm just running through the stats here. Turnovers, good turnover margin there. We could probably lower it a little bit, though. 11.7 per game, that's rough.
A lot of it is just like there's a few older players, and our older players are playing great. Seymour, Abby, and Q, those three are our big three. But we just don't have a lot of the younger players haven't come along yet, and there's not a lot of depth. So that's where the shooting comes in. And if Abby goes cold, that kind of limits our offense, especially because I think Coach Savage's first team mirrors Coach Forbes' first team in a lot of the same ways.
Totally agree.
There's talent on there, but the depth isn't there yet. Ebby is our Geelon Gwynn.
Yeah.
Q is our TJ Cromer. We don't really have an AJ Merriweather on this team because there's not a lot of talent. Well, actually, come to think of it, Jaden Seymour is our AJ Merriweather. Talented athlete that just balls out every game.
Yeah.
I thought about it for a minute. I was like, wait a minute. That's an apt comparison.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd say we might have the difference between that team and this team is I think the bench was a whole lot better. I think Murray was a better recruiter than Desmond Oliver, to say the least.
Yeah, and that's something that will take, a couple seasons to fade away. That's why it's so detrimental in college, man, when you have, like, a less than optimal coaching staff that kind of, like, screws you for the next few years. Professional sports, they can chalk up their losses, cut players, this or that. But in college ball, it's a lot different.
Yeah, because, like, pretty much our whole team left from last year besides, like, 3 guys.
Right. Yeah, and if you're a kid, you only have X amount of years to get some eyes on you. Do you want to go to this program that's completely rebuilding from scratch, or do you want to go somewhere that's a little bit more established?
I know several of the players that left shouldn't have even left. Going back to the transfer portal, that kind of is the downfall of the transfer portal. A lot of players leave when their best opportunities right in front of them, Like Jalen Haynes transferred to George Mason and he's not playing. Jordan King probably made a good choice transferring to Richmond. And then Josh Taylor he was going to go to, I forget, Georgia State, but he didn't end up going there. He ended up further down into a couple divisions. There's a story behind that. I won't really get into that because it's not my place to say, but just like if all those players came back, this may have been a SoCon championship team, but it's water under the bridge. This is the team.
Right. Yeah. It's just a big
Yeah.
what if
This is the
now.
team
Yeah.
Savage has. We got to put our full heart behind them as fans. I think Savage has the process down. Another thing, Coach Savage's body language as a coach is just like in the games he's intense. Like he's off.
Oh yeah, dude. I think that really shows his
Yeah,
mentors. I think you could see the Coach Forbes
yeah,
or the
yeah.
Bruce Pearl in him when he's
Because
coaching.
like off the court, he's just a relaxed guy.
Yeah, super nice.
On the court, he's like fired up. You hear him screaming. Like I'm surprised he hasn't.
That's what I
I'm
want.
surprised he hasn't gotten teed up. A couple of the games he probably could have got tossed out, but I love that.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want my coach out there playing with the players.
Like a couple of the games ETSU's had, the refs have been atrocious, like completely atrocious. I think that's just like smaller college basketball. You don't get the A team.
Honestly, I think officiating,
it's bad.
The board,
it's been bad
terrible right now.
You just have like flagrants called for nothing. Like they'll call flagrants and the guy just like boxed someone out or something. There was
we're trying to make everything safer, and in the process, we're not calling like the actual dangerous stuff.
They won't call a flagrant when someone goes under someone, but they'll call like a flagrant of a player falling into another player or something. Like they'll call a flagrant on that, and it's like, okay, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm excited for this basketball team. 9-9, 1-4 in SoCon play. Don't love that, obviously. But I think first year, it's going to happen.
If I remember correctly, Forbes didn't start off so hot in SoCon play. I think he heated up in February, his first year. I may be wrong. I know. Let me check this. Let's see, 15-16. He actually.
I mean, he started 24-12.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about like I was saying like in conference, but yeah, he actually did better. But I think that was a different SoCon then too. The UNCGs and the Samfords of the world and Westerns weren't good, like actual respectable programs, right?
Yeah, I don't think 1-4. Year one, I don't think that's any reason to start raising any caution flags.
Especially we haven't played most of the easy teams, and the only team we've played that's like a bad team in the Southern is Mercer, who I think their coach is about to get fired. But yeah.
Hopefully they don't fire him within the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we can get one more game out of him.
We got to get the wins over VMI, Mercer, and the Citadel. Although the Citadel is decent. So that will be a tough game. I was thinking, just thinking about upcoming conference play. At Chattanooga on Sunday, that's a big game. That's an absolute must win.
Nationally
televised. We've got to win that. Coming off of that Wofford loss, I hope the team understands the gravity of the ETSU Chattanooga rivalry. Like it's a big time rivalry. That's probably the biggest one in the Southern Conference.
Yeah, for 100%. Yeah, the in-state. I love a good in-state rivalry. And those dirty monks, bro.
Always got to bring up the Chattanooga player that punched the ETSU cheerleader the one time back in like the 80s or not. Yeah. I forget what year it was.
Classic.
That's it's Chat Hate Week. So
it's to be fair though.
It's always Chat Hate Week. we need to get ETSU needs to get a chant, just like a Chattanooga, like something creative, like a chant.
That's where you
Yeah,
come
yeah.
in. Yeah, I think you need to
Figure
figure
out
that
like
out.
the Purdue has IU sucks for uh, uh, their rivalry. We need one of those for Chattanooga. Uh, there's some good ones I could think of. Just find something that rhymes and start chanting it at the games. Get the students involved.
Are you going to be there Saturday?
It's Sunday. Sunday
Is it Sunday?
afternoon, yeah. I will be there. I will
You're
be
going to
there.
be there? Okay, then get a
I will get
chant
a chance
started.
started. Something tearing down Chattanooga. But
Please, please
uh,
do. You can talk about how their city's literally built in a hole.
VMI South, which is basically what they are, VMI South. Since they
Yeah.
took Dan Earl and
Um,
what's his name, that went to Florida and then came back.
they're sitting 11-7
Yeah,
right now. I think it'll be a close game. It's just like you said, it
yeah,
is a big game. It means a lot. I think that this could be not that it's in a good or a bad way. I think this would be a season defining game.
yeah.
I think it's fair to look at it that
This is
way.
like this is probably our biggest game, uh, other than Davidson, Chattanooga, Furman, UNCG at home. All three of those games are
Yeah.
probably our biggest games of the season, I'd say.
How cool is it though that we're getting an
Yeah,
ESPN2 game? Like, that's
it's
pretty
not
sick.
often the Bucks are on national television. They've been on a couple
Right.
times this year against Butler, and then I think they were on there against someone else. They were on. Might have been, maybe not. That might have been the only other time they've been on a nationally televised game this year. But um,
I know they were on a couple CBS. I know they were on. I think that was
yeah,
the Butler
Butler
game.
game.
Yep.
But uh, I think that this could be a turning point and help build some confidence. If we get a win over a rival, pull up, start lining up or knocking off a few wins, get us back into the SoCon race. I think it's critical for ETSU to get like a top 6 seed going into Asheville. You never want to play on Friday because
No.
that
No.
basically, if you're playing on Friday, you're probably not going to make it. There's been a couple teams make some weird runs, but they don't end up winning, having a chance at the championship and the NCAA tournament. But um, I just think that, yeah, like you said, big game. And that's about all I can say about the team right now. I'm gonna look at some of the other upcoming games. We got after chat. We got chat, and then at VMI Sanford. That's gonna be a big game too. Mercer, Citadel. Yeah,
Sanford's setting 16 and
yeah.
2 right now.
I I don't think they are the greatest team in the SoCon. Yeah,
Sanford,
I really don't think they're gonna win it.
you think it's
I think it's
WCU?
Western Carolina, 100%. Um, I just think they've played a fairly easy schedule.
They're on a streak right
Yeah,
now too. 5 straight
yeah.
wins.
I know. I watched them play Purdue earlier this year. They didn't look like a good mid major at all. Like
What was the final
that
score of
one,
that one?
we blew them. It was like 90 to Purdue versus Sanford. It was 98-45.
I bet that's even easier for you to pull for Purdue
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that one, huh?
I was like,
It's like double
what's funny
hammy.
is that they have that short dude on there, Dallas something, Grazzini. I think that's his name. Let's look at Sanford. He's like 5. He's got to be like 5. Gosh dang. Okay, let's see Sanford. He is 5'8", 140 pounds. He honestly played the best for him. They put him just as a joke because they knew they weren't going to win. They put him in the tip-off circle against Zach Edey, which is just hilarious. That's just
funny.
hilarious to think of. But that's about all I had for the basketball team. Oh yeah, one last thing. What are your predictions for Sunday? Yeah, for Sunday. Yeah, I think so too. I think
I'm gonna go.
I think this is the weakest chat team they've had in a while. I think
we're gonna hit we're gonna be right around our average. I'm gonna say 71-69. Go.
Yeah,
Bucks.
I'm gonna say something like that, like 70. I'm gonna say we beat them by quite a bit, 73-65.
I like it.
Get a few foul calls at the end. And before I sort of wrap this episode up, I kind of wanted to mention the women's team too. They've been having an outstanding season. Second year head coach, Mock Brown. She's been doing an outstanding job. They've been winning through injuries. They've had some injuries to some key players, and I think they beat. Oh, let me look at ETSU women's team. They are rolling right now. They beat Mercer. It sounded like that game from other people on Twitter. It was a kind of a dirty game. Mercer was playing dirty.
That's not really a surprise, in my opinion.
But they've been doing a great job. I know they've completely turned it around from what it was 2 years ago. I'm glad Doc Sander has been overseeing the hires here at ETSU.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's clear now, right? I can't say enough nice things about Coach Mock. I mean, she came in and she has totally year one, it was just a stimulus in the arm of that team. She also is the one who did the commencement speech for my graduation, so that was really cool too. Absolutely love Coach Mock. I interviewed her her first season coming in, and just the way she carries herself and conducts herself, she means business, but she's literally one of the nicest people in the world. I think it shows with this team the kind of respect that she's already earned. I mean, it's like she had the respect right off the bat, right? Everybody immediately loved her. I think that she is probably the best hire. No disrespect to Coach Lamb or Coach Savage, but I think Coach Mock is the best hire the ETSU's had since the whole kerfuffle happened.
She seems like she carries herself well, has put leadership above anything else in her program. Not just being a coach, taking care of your athletes, because
yeah, and I mean, this is the first time in a very long time that we have a good women's program.
It's been since the late Karen Kemp took ETSU to the tourney 2 straight years.
Yeah,
I remember she was highly respected, but there's just been so much controversy with Brittany Ezell there at the end. I heard some rough stuff there. And then the whole misstep of hiring Simon Harris and the whole controversy. I won't even get into it there, but just having that leadership.
Sticky situations after another.
It's just I know especially with women's sports, you need leaders. You need good people first off, because a lot of those women athletes, they have, image issues, that sort of stuff, and having borderline psychopaths is, some of these people, I don't know where ETSU, Scott Carter, first off, I don't know
Yeah.
where he found them at, but
I mean, I think a lot of people, they see us like our our athletic department fell
mhm.
for sure in the last 3 years. There's no debate about it. There has been a lot of controversy in our athletic department. I mean, like the stuff that happened with the
Yeah,
softball
yeah,
coaches,
yeah.
like all of that alleged
Mhm.
stuff. Um, I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened
Allegedly,
allegedly
yeah,
in the
allegedly.
athletic department
Got to be like Pat
um,
McAfee.
that like has as it's really hurt like
Mm,
the
mhm.
entire program. We're like we've lost funding for certain things. We've had to cut back on some of the sports. Um, whether or not like men's and women's indoor track and field, however you feel about those sports, those
Yeah,
were sports that
mhm,
we offered to students. We were bringing students
mhm.
in for those sports. Even if you hate them, and you've never watched one, somebody loves it,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Somebody's wanting to make a career out of it. And I hate that, it loses funding. Um,
Mm,
but I think that a lot of people ignore the drama and the controversy that's happened that really does like explain exactly why we're in the position we're
mhm.
in. We're just
Yeah,
now
we're going
starting back up the hill.
heading back
But
up.
dude, we fell off of a cliff. We fell
Yeah,
far
I
off of a
know. Like
cliff.
people that haven't heard of our program, like they just see the news stories, like on like college
Yeah.
basketball Reddit. Hey, isn't that the program where they had all this controversy? Like
Yep.
that's the first thought people. They don't think about the 30-4 team uh,
Right.
before COVID. They don't think about the ranked teams back in the
We were
'90s. You know.
we were Sweet
Yeah, yeah,
16 bound,
yeah. I
bro.
I fully agree with that. You know. Um, and the complete shift that happened after COVID with the athletic department, outside of the football team for 2 years or the Randy Sanders run um, in 2021, the athletic department took a hit those 2 or 3 years there,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Tough.
and we're just starting to rebound in an image way, you know.
Oh, for sure. And I think we're looking better across all fronts. I mean, at
Mm-hmm.
least like in our major
Mm-hmm.
sports. I mean, ETSU golf
Yeah,
is
I
always pretty good. It's
I was going
super
to mention
underrated.
that too. I'd like to have all the coaches of all these programs on the program sometime, but golf is one of the top 10 programs in the country right now. I just saw a poll
Yeah.
earlier, or yeah, someone posted on Twitter about it,
Yeah. People sleep on our golf team.
and we have multiple pros that are at the top of their game right now.
Yeah. Well, I think isn't Seamus in the top
I,
10 in
he might be.
standings?
I haven't checked. I don't think it's started up.
I know this. Last year, I know for sure he
Yeah,
was. I think he was like
because he
eighth or
won
ninth.
he won 2 or 3 tournaments, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and that shot him up the rankings. Um, I
Our women's
mhm.
tennis program. I don't know how. Before I say they were good.
Yeah, I knew. I actually
Um,
know.
when I was like
I
closely
know
following.
one of the players on. There was one of the tennis players on the team. She was she was like
Really?
the highest ranked. Laylo. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
I had
yeah, yeah.
classes with her, so
That's cool.
um, so I've kept up with that. Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
last year they went 19-8.
And they've been to the NCAAs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah,
good
yeah,
stuff coming from ETSU, but we are in a
mm-hmm.
slump. It's just going to
Yeah.
take a little while.
Especially with like, we just need to get our that donor base back up. Especially
Yeah,
that because that helps in scholarships and stuff. But
yeah, it'd be nice if Kenny Chesney would come back and throw a little bit of money,
Kenny
bro.
Chesney sponsors football. What is it? What's the building called that you have? Field House. Kenny Chesney Field House.
Yeah,
Right there on the end of, in between William B. Green Jr. and the road.
yeah. I mean, maybe that's
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
But Kenny, I am challenging you to
Yes,
donate
please
more.
do. get him and uh, who else is?
Eureka from RuPaul's Drag
Yeah.
Race. Maybe Eureka can throw some money our way.
Oh my gosh. Oh, get the woman that's on The Bachelor now. It's from Irwin.
Oh
Get that.
yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
that. Yeah, yep. The head coach of I forget his name.
Jamie
Liberty's head
Chadwell.
coach. Yeah, yeah. Where's that money at,
Yeah,
bro?
send some of the Liberty money. Send some of the Falwell money this way.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
We need it. We'll just be the boosters. Well, the booster gatherers
yeah.
for ETSU.
Fundraisers.
We'll just go door to door. Yeah. I'll sell the chocolate candy bars.
They're selling chocolate. How did get that one out?
What?
They're selling chocolate. Okay, I gotta stop myself. But I think that we're heading into the final stages of the show. But just wanted to before we close out the show, I just wanted to sort of have a plug time for Cody to plug his stuff and just sort of cross promote platforms. I know I had mentioned it previously. I joined associated this podcast with his new media group, sort of a media group of podcasts and different sports writers called Sectator Media. I'll just let him talk more about that and talk about his podcast, the Left Turn Cult NASCAR podcast. I know I've mentioned it before, but I'll just let him sort of plug what he wants to.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so Sectator Media, it's kind of just one of those ideas that came out in nowhere. And I just like immediately started like just building this big idea in my head. And I was like, how can fans actually have a say, right? Everybody's got their friend groups. After, everybody's got a friend group for each sport usually. Your boys that you talk to about basketball, your boys that you talk about football with, your boys that you talk about baseball with. But not everybody has that, right? And so the idea is to build this community where fans can just come together and like talk about sports. And that sounds like dumb. It's like, okay, cool, right? No. So the thing that makes all of this different is everything is fan submitted. There's a website. We have articles that are posted about whatever it is that you want to write about, right? We publish them. I go in, I edit them to fit the proper formatting, and then they get published and posted. And like you are now like a published author. That's kind of the idea of it all. That's the website and the writing front. Then we have the podcast side of it all. We have, I think, 4 podcasts active right now. More are coming, but we have 4, including this one, that are active across different kinds of sports. Yeah, we have a couple that are focused on racing, one that's focused on NASCAR and dirt racing, one that's just focused on NASCAR, which is Left Turn Cult. We've got this one that's focused on ETSU sports, and then we have one that's kind of across the board with sports. That one's the Gamers Do Sports podcast. They talk about video games and sports at the same time. So like I'm wanting to hit like each different sport, have a show there, build a community from that. That's kind of the whole idea with Sectator, is like just bringing together passionate sports fans to have a place where, I grew up, I watched most sporting events like by myself, right? And like, it sounds sad. I was fine with that. But it's like, I didn't always have somebody to talk to about this game or that game. So like, I had to like bottle it up and it sucked, right? Then I started making like, friends, and I got way more social growing up, so that I did have that. But when I was younger, I just kind of like watched sports by myself and like had nowhere to share it. So I want to be able to help people have a place to share like their passion of sports. Sports and music. Those are the 2 universal languages, bro.
I totally agree. I know I sort of the same. I had sort of the same thing. Like, I mean, I have friends I talk about sports with, but like talking about like my specific interest, like I'm one of those people that just have like an extreme knowledge and we kind of brought it up before. Like people were like, "What?" when you bring up a random fact. Um,
Yeah, those
yeah,
random
just
stats.
sharing your passion with other people. Finding people that you can speak your language to, your sports fandom to. Um, I know I, when I was growing up, I just kind of watched it with my dad. That was
Yeah.
who I talked. And then when I got older, I made a lot of friends. But um, I just having people uh, share their passion of their different sports that they're into. Um, that's one of the cool things about Sectator Media. I've written one article. I'm going to try to write more, but I'm super busy with work and this podcast. But um, I fully back Sectator Media and what Cody's trying to do with it.
I appreciate that. It's
Yeah.
exciting. I mean, I genuinely do have like big
Mm-hmm.
hopes for it. I think that it's a cool way for people to meet. I know there's a lot of like cross connections now, just from kind of like the beginnings of like the whole community. Um, yeah, there's a lot of people who are like friends now that
Mm-hmm.
probably would have never even met if it wasn't for coming together through all of this. So that's already like a cool thing that I've seen from it. But if you're listening and you're interested in checking out Jacob's article, all you got to do is go up to your search bar
Mm-hmm.
and you can type in Sectator, SECTATOR .media, and then if you hit that enter key, it'll take you to the
I know
website.
I had it linked in my last episode on YouTube. I'll put it down there starting from this episode. Yeah,
Yeah, so
just
just
go
go click
click
that.
that. Um, and yeah, so just wanted to promote that and promote Cody's starting up his new podcast or starting up the Left Turn Cold again. If you're a NASCAR fan, I know there's a lot of overlap
Yep.
with ETSU and NASCAR fans on Twitter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, there
there
is a
is a
lot.
lot. There is a
There is a
lot.
lot. It's crazy.
Uh,
But yeah, Left Turn Cool. We're planning on coming
yeah,
back Monday. We took a long off season. I don't think people realize, and I sound dumb complaining about this because it's all by choice, but like it's kind of draining,
yeah.
right? Like there's 38 races in a season, so we go live 38 times a year. And I know there's people who stream like every day, so that's absolutely nothing. Uh, but it does get a little tiring. So like the 2 month break that we just had was nice. I think we're all going to come back with a lot more energy than we had at the
Mm-hmm.
tail end of the season last year. So I'm excited though. You can check that out. Any social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X/Twitter. It's at Left Turn Cold.
Yeah. Talking about taking a break, I took about a month break at the holidays because, like, even doing this podcast is draining. Just like because
Yeah, it
you've
is
got to
time
edit
consuming.
on top of
Hmm.
record, edit, and do everything else, promotion, running social media. I'm just
Yeah,
doing it.
all the social
I'm
media
doing it all by
stuff. Yeah,
myself. So like, it's like
yeah,
until I talked with Cody earlier about like I'm trying to find a co-host, sort of have someone to bounce ideas off of. But um, like it's a grind, especially when you have like a career going on outside or personal
oh yeah,
relationships. It's this is this
yeah.
you have to
It's a
be passionate
balance.
about it. I'm
Yeah,
and that's why I'm fully invested in this. I know sometimes we're like friends like to give me crap. Oh, you're slacking on the podcast. I'm like, hey, I'm trying. I'm just like
yeah. It's
trying
dude,
to
it's
get some
hard.
sleep.
It's rough trying to keep
But
up.
that's why I had Cody on the night because he relates to it and is a loyal Buck fan. Um, yep.
Forever.
I'm glad I could have him on tonight. I think that's about all I have for tonight. But before I go, I just wanted to say Godspeed and go Bucks. Thank you, Cody, for coming on.
Go Bucks, baby.